can be heroes everywhere we go. We can have all that we ever want. Swinging like Ali, rocking our body, standing on top like a champion. Keep it on silver, give me that gold. You remember when I say we can be heroes everywhere we go. Keeping us down is impossible. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. We're unstoppable.
The whole thing happening. And of course, I would like to welcome our other folks who are watching the stage, to our government members, and to our classes, to our studio. Good afternoon. Yes. So, hello everyone. Today is a good day. I would like to start before we introduce our guest speaker. I would like to acknowledge our sponsors for we have MedResults Medical Services, Accounting Portal PH, Alabang Real Estate Directory. We have Mobile Palenque, Philippine Virtual Expo, Philippine Workshop, Online Pasalubong Center, Philippine Hotels Directory. So yes, if you have any questions during the webinar, you may type your questions in the comment section and chat box for the audiences inside this meeting. There will be an allotted time for the question and answer portion towards the end of the program. Okay. Again, today is a good day to be guided into clarity and inspiration. So let me introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar. So he is a former legal counsel, data protection officer, and compliance officer in Running Software Incorporation, associate lawyer of Intelman and Munoz Law Offices, legal staff at Quezon Agricultural Development Authority. He graduated BSBA major in marketing management as a cum laude awardee at Trinity University of Asia. Also, finished the degree of Juris Doctor at the University of Santo Tomas, Faculty of Civil Law. And now he is the official lawyer of Wedding Supplier Association of the Philippines, WSUP. Please welcome our speaker this afternoon, Attorney Nathan Isaac Quezon. Hello, Attorney. Good afternoon.
All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Jean. Salamat.
It's a
Thanks for
great
having
honor
me.
po to have you this afternoon. Kamusta po kayo, sir?
Okay naman. Medyo malamig naka-aircon. Kayo, kamusta kayo dyan?
Yes, very good, sir. And I believe that we get more knowledge and insights from you
Yes, yes, yes.
to help us, our viewers, especially to our wedding suppliers, to be aware and knowledgeable when it comes to obligation and contract. So, without further ado, welcome to WSUP Attorney, sir. And
Thank
the
you, thank
stage
you.
is now yours.
Okay, can I share my screen now?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
IT department,
Yeah.
please.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So, thank you again, Jean. So, my webinar, this part of the webinar, I will be talking about the purpose of contracts and obligations as for wedding suppliers. Okay, so next. Ngayon, kailangan natin tanungin, what is a contract? Under the Civil Code, this is defined as a meeting of the minds between parties whereby one with respect to the other would deliver something or render some service. So from this definition alone, makikita na natin yung makikita na natin yung obligations ng parties. So as wedding suppliers, what are our obligations? To deliver something or to render some service. Okay. Now let's himayin natin kung ano ang contract. Okay. So what are the elements of a contract? First, we have consent. Second, we have object. And then we have consideration. Now, ano ba 'tong mga 'to? Ang consent, this means that the parties, the wedding supplier or the other party, whether the couple or other parties that may be, a part of the contract, dapat mag-agree sila. There should be a meeting of the minds, okay? Now, what is the object? Of course, yung object, ano ba yung ano natin, obligation natin or yung objective natin para maging maayos yung wedding ceremony or kung ano man yung mga dapat i-deliver, ano man yung service na dapat i-render, yun po ang ating object. And then lastly, last element is consideration. Of course, hindi naman tayo puwede pumasok sa contract kung walang consideration. Consideration means price, okay? Kaya po meron tayong point diyan para price. So, paano 'pag wala ang isa sa mga ito? Ito, halimbawa, walang meeting of the minds. Nagbigay ng offer itong si supplier but it wasn't accepted by the couple or the other party. We cannot say that there is a contract. There is no contract in that case. Kasi walang meeting of the minds. Walang object. Of course, hindi naman tayo puwede pumasok sa kontrata kung wala tayong pinag-uusapan, right? Price, it's hard to enter into a contract if there is no consideration. Unless you want to donate. Well, actually donation, there's still a consideration there. The, you know, um, the charity of the person, well, that's still a consideration. So, 'pag wala isa, there is no contract. It is void. Alright? Now next is stages. First stage is preparation, and then we have perfection, and then we have consummation. Ang good, comparison or like, to explain it simply 'no, stages para siyang dating. May preparation, so siyempre mag-uusap kayo nung ka-date mo or there will be, a series of dates and then eventually magkakaroon ng perfection or magiging kayo na or let's say eventually nagkasal na sila. And lastly, consummation, the last stage of a contract o kung ano mang puwede niyong isipin kung ano meaning ng consummation. So, later on we will know the importance of the stages kasi malalaman natin kung puwede tayong mag-cancel or to make modifications in the contract depending on the stage. Okay? Next, what is an obligation? Now, 'pag inisip natin parang same lang yata yung contract and obligation, but it is not. Under our civil code, obligation is defined as a juridical necessity to give, to do, or not to do. Ngayon, that under the civil code, a contract is a source of an obligation. While an obligation is something that you need to do, whether to give, to do, or not to do. And then later on, we will explore different kinds of contracts and ano yung klaseng obligation na kailangan, whether to give, to do, or not to do. Alright. And then we will on contracts in relation to the wedding industry. Now, this is a recent uh, statistics or a recent study made by PSA that there are 100,171 registered marriages just up to April of 2022. Now, we can see how big this industry is, and contracts can become a tool for this industry to be fortified. Right? So, ano ba ang importance ng contract? The importance of contracts in wedding plans can be described into three. Okay, first, couples and suppliers. Between these persons or between the parties, ang contract, this will help us avoid or prevent, no, disputes and misunderstanding. A contract is the source of your legal remedies available. Eventually, if the contract is breached or may hindi napagkasunduan pero dinadamage siya sa isa, we can file for damages or daños in Philippine vernacular. And then lastly, a contract is now ang question, no, can a contract let's set the common notion that a contract is something written. But then again, if you're gonna ask, are all contracts written? And the answer is no. Contracts can be oral, okay? Or verbal. O verbal na lang para mas wholesome. Anyway, so bakit mas magandang written ang contract? We can sige, let's compare it to the hierarchy sa marriage. Kunwari, si verbal, si husband, si written, si wife. Sino ang mas powerful? Yung wife or yung husband in this case? Of course, the answer is the wife. Kasi written. This is easier to prove in court. Mas powerful siya. Kasi kung verbal, though it's still a contract, you can prove it by testimony. You can prove it by giving your statement in court. Powerful ang contract na written. Okay? Alright. Now, in the next slide, we will discuss the scope. Well, obviously, I'm a lawyer and I won't know the actual operations. But from, general knowledge would dictate that wedding supplies may cover these: venue, catering, florist, photographer, videographer, and DJ, and bands. Okay? Alright. And we will discuss the contracts that can be used or what will be the stipulations with these different kinds of uh, services. Alright. First, venue rental agreement. So these are the common stipulations that should be included. Date and time of the wedding, of course, we need that. The duration of the rental period, capacity of the venue, the payment terms, cancellations and refunds, or any other rules and regulations. Siyempre puwede natin isulat dun sa contract, no smoking or no littering. Kayo maglilinis pagkatapos ng wedding or we can include that. And also, going back to a contract being a source of an obligation, what kind of obligation do you think this is? A venue rental agreement to give, to do, or not to do? Well, you can comment down below if you want. But a venue rental agreement is, of course, something that you need to do. It's an obligation to do, a juridical necessity to do. Okay. Next is catering contract. What should be included? Type and quantity of food, cost of services, payment terms, breakdown of the catering service. Um, Also, we can put the special request, dietary restrictions, and other services. Now, the question here, what kind of obligation is this? It's an obligation to give, to do, or not to. Now, pwede nating sabihin, it's an obligation to give kasi nagbibigay ka ng food, but not. It is not. This is an obligation to do because this is a service contract. And later on, we will discuss um, we will break down a service contract or a service agreement. Next is the florist contract. Again, what can we include? Type and quantity of flowers. Kung ano mang flower yan. Cost of services, payment terms, delivery and setup of the flowers, special request. Kung gusto niyo yung may parang Japanese style na mga may levels-level siya, ganyan. Additional services, lighting or decor. Okay. And then, photography or videography contract. What kind of contract is this? Sorry, ito. What kind of contract is florist contract? Or sorry, what kind of obligation? To give, to do, or not to do? This is to give. O, di ba para maiba? Dalawang to do, isang to give. Because you are delivering something. Photography, videography, type and duration of the services, cost, payment terms again, delivery of the final photographs or videos, any special request or preference, any additional service. Perfect. What kind of obligation? To give, to do, or not to do. This is an obligation to do sa service, obviously. And lastly, DJ and band contract. Obviously, is also an obligation to do. Bakit parang walang not to do? Kasi 'di ba to give, to do, or not to do. In these contract, in these kinds of agreements, pwede tayo mag-stipulate ng what is prohibited by the parties. We cannot cancel at any point in time after the perfection of the contract, of course, unless you want to be liable for damages. So you cannot cancel. That is an obligation to do. Catering con ay sorry, obligation. In catering contract, ano ba yung obligation natin dito? Siyempre, kung kailangan mag-render ng service, you're going to provide exclusively something that is palatable to distinguish type. Distinguish, yes. Um, of course, you cannot serve something cheap. Well, you can serve something expensive, but you shouldn't serve something that's actually. Alright, okay. Next, we will be discussing about research to improve the credit supply. Ito yung mga dapat, mga non-negotiable na kailangan kasama. We have in terms on policies, responsibilities and duties, changes and modifications to the contract. Okay. So with these kinds of agreements that we have seen kanina, from venue rental agreement to band or DJ contract, of course, we know the responsibilities and duties. Namely, or for example, venue venue rental agreement, of course, you need for responsibilities. And this is common sense. But you need to lay it out. You need to spell everything out, lahat ng kailangan gawin for clarity. Okay. Payment terms. Of course, ang hirap magbayad kung di mo alam kung magkano babayaran mo, 'di ba? Or ang hirap magbayad kung hindi nakalagay sa contract or sa agreement niyo kung paano ka magbabayad. Whether cash, check, credit card, debit card, GCash, PMaya, or whatever. Those can be stipulated in your contract. Cancellation and refund policies. Okay, this is a tricky one, no? Because this will be dependent on your negotiation skill. Kasi you can you can ask that you be given 100% of the contract price if let's say nag-cancel siya last minute kasi nagastos mo na lahat, eh. 'Di mo na puwedeng bawiin yung 'di mo na puwede ibalik sa ref yung cake na binake, hindi mo na siya puwede i-deconstruct at gawing raw materials, so it's hard to cancel. It's going to be dependent to the type of contract and the amount of damages that you will receive from such cancellation. Okay? Okay, yan. So payment terms, what can be included, amount, due date, method, security deposit. This is important. So security deposit can be included as a stipulation if the agreement, let's say, is a lease agreement like venue rental or even DJ or band service. If that particular service would allow the couples to use their equipment, that's also a lease, no? And you can ask for a security deposit. Installment basis, so puwede din. Okay, next. Hmm. I mentioned earlier that, the cancellation refund, puwedeng 100%. That's going to be dependent again on your, um, prerogative, no, as business people. You can ask for 100%, 75%, 50%, 25%. Whatever you think is going to be the best for your business, choose that. Choose whatever percentage you like. Now, hmm, next. Okay, okay. Next, changes and modifications. So in here, a couple may want to make changes to the menu or to the number of guests. So of course, there are certain situations na kailangan palit ng, details, mag-a-add ng number of chairs, mag-a-add ng number of, um, seats, or basically mag-e-expand yung capacity or yung requirement to render some sort of service. It can be stipulated in your contract as well. Okay? Because again, we cannot avoid these kinds of things. Pero again, that's also dependent on you, dependent on your business acumen. Okay. Now, next we will be talking about how to negotiate. Of course, this is the business side of things, and I'm here only to discuss the legal part. But it's also okay to remind us what should we do. Kasi again, negotiation, it's part of the first stage of a contract, the preparation. Okay? What do you need to know? Know who are you talking to. Of course, you need to know what they want. If you know who they are and what they want, you can set your objectives, of course. Malalaman mo kung ano yung mga i-re-render mo or i-de-deliver mo for the satisfaction of your client. Next, be flexible. Of course, you're going to negotiate. Puwede kayong magbawas ng stipulation, puwede magdagdag ng stipulation sa contract niyo, but we should learn how to or when to compromise. And then listen. Ito, this is one problem that I always see sa mga clients. Um, it's it's not, advisable to just listen. You have to take notes. Kasi may time na may sinabi ka and hi you want halimbawa, ako, gusto kong i-stipulate dun sa contract ang price 100,000. Tas mamaya hindi ko na, ah, mamaya ang nakasulat sa contract 150 instead of 100,000. There are certain ang my point is there are certain details that will be forgotten. if we don't write it. Let us not rely on our memory when we listen. We have to write things down. Okay? And then keep your cool, relax lang, maintain composure, even if the negotiation is not going your way. And lastly, it's okay to not go into that contract. Kung dehado ka, siyempre, huwag ka na magpadehado. You can walk away. Okay? All right. Now, what to avoid in wedding supply contracts? This is important. Lack of transparency in pricing. Now, this is not just in the wedding industry, but in all other industries. Yung may mga hidden charges, yung may mga pautang tapos or maybe payment via installment basis, ta's may mga nakatagong interest, may nakatagong penalties na hindi naka-spell out. That is a that is a no-go. That is not going to be helpful for your business. Kahit sabihin mo kikita ka kasi ano, may if there is no transparency in your pricing, there are actually certain industries that will cause punishment of imprisonment if there is no transparency with my hidden charges. We really need to be honest with the pricing. Okay? Down to the last centavo. Next is vague or unrealistic promises. Again, this is also a matter of honesty. You need to know what you can deliver. Before you know who your client is, know yourself first. Be honest kung kaya mo bang i-deliver yun. Okay? Di ka pwede negotiate ka, "O sige kaya ko yan. Kaya ko yan ibigay in this amount or more at this time." You have to be honest with yourself and then dun ka dun na papasok yung pagiging honest mo din sa client. Okay? Of clear cancellation policy. This is also important. Again, this will be dependent on the type of contract or agreement you have, whether from venue rental to DJ or band contract. This is important kasi dito ka makakakuha ng source mo 'pag nagkaroon na ng demandahan. If you want to file for damages, it's easier if there is a clear cancellation policy spelled out. Okay? Alright. Next, what are the kinds of wedding supply contracts? This is a very technical portion of this webinar, no? Because we are going to sort of, excuse me, we're going to sort of break down what should be included in different kinds of contracts. Okay, first, let's dive in now. Purchase order. So this is what a purchase order looks like. You need to be you need to spell out what will be ordered, the quantity, the price, and also the total price. Okay. So these are the basics, no? But you can include whatever stipulations that you think you will help uh, whatever stipulations you think will help the business. Now, when do you need purchase order? Of course, when you're going to, um, if you're a supplier, definitely you also have a supplier that you're talking to, a bigger one for when you purchase wholesale and you need a purchase order. And if you want a, a comprehensive and a purchase order that will help you, you need to talk to a lawyer, of course, para mas matibay yung purchase order nyo. Okay? So your lawyer can guide you on what to stipulate, on what to include in your purchase order. And then sales and distribution agreement. This is also similar. But the difference is the purchase order is okay? Meaning, you're asking for the delivery of something, it will be perfected upon the delivery itself. Whereas in a sales agreement, it's almost the same, but this is more encompassing in terms of how the supplier will distribute to different businesses. Okay. Again, what should be included? Kind of product, quantity, price, payment, delivery. Also, warranties is also important because this can be a source of obligation or a source of damages if warranties are violated or yeah, basically that. And then liability, ayan, you can say that you won't be liable if this happens or that happens. But it is because there are certain situations, although sabihin mong hindi ka liable, pero under the law you may be liable, a particular provision will be struck down. Termination, governing law. Okay. Now, these are the basics. And a good tip na ibibigay ng lawyer na all for me is non-negotiable is a severability clause. What is that? Ang severability clause ay kapag ang isang stipulation ay na-struck down as invalid or as void, it means yung remaining stipulations valid pa din siya. That's important. Kasi sometimes when a particular stipulation in a contract is struck down by the court, basically what happens, gumuho na yung contract. It will now be ineffective basically. Okay? So severability clause. Lease agreement, equipment rental agreement. This is pertinent in case of DJ and band contracts or any other also venue rental and any other service that you can think of that is also connected to wedding supply. All right. Terms of lease. Of course, you need to include that, the in case of default, pag di nagbayad ng renta or may na violate the stipulation, we can use that. We can also include that here. Termination, miscellaneous, to name a few. Again, these are just the basics. We can include so many more for a lease contract to be as effective as we want it to be. Okay? And lastly, service contract. Going back, ano ba yung mga service contracts na pwede? Uh, uh, Catering, the previous. Service contracts, catering, and photographer, videographer. So these kinds of agreements may be service contract. What should be included? Stipulations, what will be provided? Payment, gaano katagal, term or termination, confidentiality. Of course, there may be, details na secret lang dun sa photographer na yun. Baka may mga technique siya na kanya lang at bawal i-share sa ibang photographers para maganda yung lighting effect, ganyan, ganyan, no? It can be part of the confidentiality agreement, and then so on and so forth. Okay. Actu Actually, that's already, I can cover now. I opted to not include, the legal remedies and the kinds of, uh, ineffective contract, no? yung void, voidable, and enforceable because that's already medyo mas mahaba yun. And it's best to consult a lawyer if you think that your contract may fall under void, voidable, or unenforceable contract. Okay? So I hope may natutunan po tayo today. So to conclude, ay sorry, to conclude, why do we need sorry wait lang. Okay. So that ends my portion of this webinar. To conclude, bakit ulit natin kailangan ng contract? Having a written contract in place can help protect both the couple and the supplier in case of any misunderstandings or dispute. This will be a source of rights and obligations, and a contract will help us protect said rights and obligations. And eventually, if there will be some disputes, we have legal recourse. Okay. Again, thank you for having me. That concludes my presentation or my webinar. And if you have any questions, please ask.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much po for that wonderful and meaningful talk for today's webinar. And so now let's proceed with our question and answer portion, your questions. But habang nagta-type po kayo, I would like to share my takeaways for your talk, sir. So I
All right.
got a lot of information since uh, hindi ako ganito ka-familiar when it comes to this matter, but I got a lot of details and knowledge from you, sir. From the I got realized that the importance of communication, the consent of both parties, that the meeting of the minds to have a successful contract or agreement of the both parties. This
Yes.
talk is very for me is very relevant about this obligation and contract that especially nowadays for our specifically to our wedding suppliers that may maraming nai-scam or nang-i-scam, and it is very na kapag na-scam sila wala na silang magagawa because walang contract na naganap, walang agreement na naganap as proof na puwede pa nilang habulin yung nang-scam sa kanila. And yes,
That's correct.
ah,
Yes.
and also I totally agree to you, attorney, that most powerful po talaga yung written contract compared to the verbal because firstly you have a proof in case of misunderstanding or dispute of the both parties. And yes, that's all, sir. Thank you for that talk and discussion. And for those
Yeah.
who want to ask for this meeting, um, let's see sa our live of my questions.
I think Jason Marshall is asking. Yes, sir.
Hi po, good attorney, good afternoon. Opo, marinig niyo po ako?
Yes po.
Yes,
Good
sir.
Hi,
afternoon. Yes, go
yes, hi,
ahead.
good afternoon. What's up? WSAP. I'm Jason, owner of Passion Events from Buanga City. Thank you, attorney, sa talk mo kanina. And then we learned na there are different types of contracts that we need to do. Anyway, attorney, naka-draft din kami ng contract namin before pa talaga. And
Alright.
then, I'd like to share lang my experiences with some of the couples na bago lang, recent lang siya. Yun na nga, um, upon engaging, upon um, mag-commit siya sa amin, we share to them the contract which we explained also. And then, some point, yung contract naman namin, na-draft na yun ng lawyer also.
Yes.
And then, here comes na siyempre, mag-sign ng contract, meron dapat reservation fee sa date ng wedding. I'm talking about wedding, attorney, no? And then, here comes na hindi tutuloy ang wedding nila. But then,
Oo.
stipulated naman sa contract na yung reservation fee is, of course, lahat naman siguro ng contract hindi siya refundable. Hindi naman siya.
Oo.
Kasi yun din gagamitin namin as down payment sa mga suppliers.
Yeah,
Because
yes, correct.
we're offering package siya ganun. So yun, hindi niya next naman sa kanya ng team namin, ng staff namin na hindi talaga siya refundable, and then ganun talaga yung contract tapos hindi talaga siya, he went to DTI, tapos he kept on parang nag-harass na siya sa amin, tapos somehow he posted the photos with him together with the Erin Tulfo, ganun.
Talaga?
So nakakatawa na siya, parang sabi ko, bakit man siya, kasi contract naman na hindi, is not refundable.
Yeah.
So my question is, attorney, ano pong pwede namin ikuan sa kanya, kasi he is been harassing us, even my staff, hinaras niya na ganun. With the refund, even yung company namin mismo, hinaras niya na ganun.
Okay. So, again, to clarify, no? Itong si other party, is this the couple or one of the
Yeah,
couple?
yes, the couple.
Hindi natuloy yung wedding. Ngayon,
Hindi tuloy.
ayaw nila ibalik or tawag dito, gusto nila bawiin yung payment.
Bawiin yung reservation.
Well, actually mas tama yung kampo nyo. Kasi, again, they signed the contract, it's already perfected. They're liable actually for damages kung you can seek for damages kung nagkaroon ka ng some sort of lugi or losses from that particular cancellation. So, to answer you, kayo ang mas may laban compare sa kanila. Wala silang right. Kasi they already signed the contract. Tama?
Yeah, tama po. Saka pinanotarize na rin namin sa aming legal counsel. Ang kwanto lang, attorney, kasi inaharas niya na kaming lahat. Tapos even posted something sa Facebook. Parang, ano po yung counter namin sa kanya? Meron bang mga ganon?
You can actually file for cyber libel. Yes. Kasi kung medyo nagpo-post siya ng something negative about your company or about you or your business, that is already libelous. No? So, cyber libel is also one of your legal remedies. It's a criminal case. So, syempre kawawa din. Actually, ang cyber libel yung medyo matagal-tagal ang penalty, yung penalty of imprisonment medyo matagal. So, medyo masakit ang cyber libel. So, it's going to be dependent upon you if you want to file for criminal case.
Paano ba yung process, attorney, sa barangay level, ganon, tawagan mo na siya, isubol mo na siya, ganon siya?
Well, it actually depends, no? Do you live in the same barangay or
same city lang?
Same city.
Same
Actually,
city.
in that case, kailangan nyo din dumaan sa barangay conciliation. Yes, kailangan. And then, your lawyer will assist you. Kakaroon ng issue, pag nagka-issue once, pag hindi kayo nag-agree sa barangay level, then doon na tayo pwede mag-file ng criminal case. Okay?
qualify sa attorney.
Yes, go ahead.
On that, yun na may paano sa amin. Pero ito naman, attorney, parang nagawa na lahat yung event, nairaos na.
Yeah.
And then some point, si client hindi siya satisfied sa performance namin. Hindi
Okay.
naman lahat. Hindi siya satisfied, tapos nagpa-arrange siya sa barangay, tinawag yung company sa barangay. Sinabi niya sa barangay na ano yung mga hindi niya nagustuhan sa event, sa performance namin. So okay naman yung ganun. So we explain na ganito. Tapos in some point na we arrange naman na we can give back na lang yung hindi niya nagustuhan. Like itong photobooth na to pangit, itong sweet corner na to, itong racing table na to pangit niya nagustuhan. So we return back. So we have right agreement, ganon. So we paid na. And then later on, we post their videos. We post, of course, their same day ad video, we post sa page namin. And then here comes the client, post na naman, like, this is a scam, blah, blah, parang ganun, paano yung company namin na gano'n na naman? So, ano po yung kuha namin doon, attorney? Kasi parang nasira naman yung company namin dahil doon.
Actually, same answer. Same answer. Cyber is still a libelous remark, no? Saka,
kasi
you already...
Kasi yung kuha namin doon, nag-arrange na kami sa barangay level na eto na, we'll give back na lang yung mga na hindi mo nagustuhan. Okay, we'll just... Tapos later on, nag-post pa talaga sa page pa talaga namin.
Well, same answer. So it's also a libelous. Saka, to think that you already settled the matter at the barangay level.
Yes.
So, you're in the right. You're in the right. Kaya, ayun. My answer again, same.
Paano ba yung mag-file ng libel, attorney?
Depende sa kung the same barangay or the same municipality. Titignan muna ng lawyer kung yung circumstances nyo ay allowed ang settlement before the barangay. Pero kung exempted kayo sa barangay conciliation rule, pwede ka dumiretso mag-file ng complaint sa fiscal. Okay? Ayun. So, doon na kayo tutulungan ng lawyer nyo if ever you have a lawyer on your own. And yun. You can also include a prayer for damages in that particular criminal charge. Yeah. Okay. I hope I satisfied your answer. I satisfied your question, no?
Yes, Papa. Thank you so much, attorney.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. Are there any other questions? Miss Jean, may questions ba sa comment?
As of now po, wala po, sir. And kay Miss Sheena po, Obedero, what do you mean po, sir, ma'am, for hair and makeup po? Nawala po ata.
Actually, kanina, no, I included the scope, but it doesn't necessarily mean na yun lang yung covered nung talk.
Okay.
It includes other services. Whether, again, obligation to give, to do, or not to do. Ano ba ang hair and makeup? It's an obligation to do. Okay? And you can have, actually, I know some HMU artists that don't use contracts. Pero it's much better if you have a contract na pinapakita nyo sa clients nyo para din ma-avail nyo yung legal rights nyo, and I mean mas matibay yung claim nyo if ever you want to file for damages or any other case. So yeah, to answer your question, HMU artists, hair and makeup artists are also included. They can draft contracts, whether service contract or any other contract. Okay?
Okay, sir. So, yun lang po. Wala na po other questions. So, we proceed po to our Miss Pam can share screen po the presentation again. Thank you. Okay, after the question and answer portion, and I hope our audience took down notes and of course learned a lot from today's speaker like I did. So thank you so much, our dearest guest speakers, Attorney Nathan, this
Thank
morning.
you.
For the acknowledgement of your participation, and a certificate will be sent to you by our events team. So this certificate of appreciation presented to Mr. Nathan Isaac Fuson for imparting valuable knowledge during the webinar. Discover the purpose of contracts and obligations as wedding suppliers to protect your business via Zoom, given this 14th day of January 2023. We are delighted in providing this certificate to you. So, thank you once again, Attorney Nathan, for
Thank
your
you so
time,
much.
and I hope you also enjoyed sharing those
Yes,
knowledge of yours. And of
Mm.
course, thank you, WSUP members, interns, and for our viewers on FB page. Thank you for attending this webinar. It is our pleasure to have you here. For our audience, e-certificate of participation, we're sending the Google form that we'll send at the GC box. So again, we would like to thank the following sponsors for today's webinar. MedResults Medical Services, Accounting Portal PH, Alabang Real Estate Directory, Mobile Palengke, Philippine Virtual Expo, Philippine Workshop, Online Pasalubong Center, and Philippine Sales Directory. Thank you for supporting our event. Once again, I am Jean May Kabatu, now signing off. Thank you for your time. Keep safe and have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We can be